Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 103 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I have some cool plans for today. So last episode I wrapped up talking about how there might be a couple different ways to approach a nifty base building mechanic, and I think I've come up with something that should be pretty fun, relatively new. It has similar feel to some stuff that I've worked on in the past, but not that similar, to be honest with you. So different enough that it should be different, and that sounds pretty good to me. I just want to take a peek around here and see. So this is all fluids going towards where? Here? This is totally not necessary. What about down here? What do we got going on? Some power lines that lead where? Oh, to these guys. Yeah, they're probably necessary. We probably got some power going down this way as well. Yeah, and into here. Okay, so the power needs to stay, but the fluids don't. That's cool. I'm just checking stuff out, don't mind me. So I can probably just at least clear this guy, this guy. I don't think power comes in this way, does it? Matter receive. Oh, it does come in that way. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna have to rerun that because that is gonna be messy and in my way for what I want to do. So yeah, don't mind me. I'm just cleaning up some of a mess because I need to work on a room. And I decided that I'm going to put the room right through this wall. So that's where it's going to live. For now, let's get rid of our conduit connector. We probably don't need these water guys here for now anymore. And as a result, I can probably run these things through the wall. So like I said about having to maybe rework my base a little bit, and I'm considering moving to a void base or something along those lines, only because, guys, my base is a mess. And that's what happens when you build organically, right? Like early on, I don't have all the resources in the world to build it super nice, and I'm trying to like just get it up and running kind of deal, right? So, you know, when it's early game, it's hard to have like a super nice and finalized base once you get to the end, unless you have a ton of resources. So, long story short, I could do with a little bit of a rearrangement of a lot of stuff. So I could either rearrange what I've got here, or I could relocate. So we're figuring that out. I haven't entirely decided what I'm going to do. Let's get some smooth stone. That'll probably look better. And you guys can go away. So yeah, that's why I'm talking about possibly moving my base, just because everything is such a mess over here. It really is. But that's okay. We will see what's up. So I think first things first, right? We should consider making a room. And that's what I'm going to do right now, probably off camera for the most part. Let's say like right through here and just see if I run into anything that might be troublesome. And maybe even just to keep things at least a little halfway nice looking, we'll put this here. And I'm going to go dig out a room that's going to serve the purposes of what I want to build. And I will be right back. All right, guys, we are back, and I am making some arcane lamps, just because that's what I like to use to light things typically. Let's pop downstairs and light this place up. So that should be center-ish. Maybe that one. Yeah, looks pretty good and centered. All right, cool. So that should light up the area rather nicely. And now we've got a room to work in. Sweet. I may fancy up this room a little bit in the future, but for now, I just want to get the basic functionality of what I want to work on. So, what is today's big project? The things I want to do and the things I want to use are a top tier item of Pneumatic craft. So we are going to be getting started with Pneumatic craft. So in order to do that, we're going to need some iron. And I'm going to snag about 2 stacks of it, as well as some TNT. Dun, 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 dun. So to get started with Pneumatic craft is pretty easy. I'm probably going to go somewhere that might be a little bit okay to create an explosion. So I'll just kind of fly off into the distance here. So we'll do this here, and I'm going to drop the iron ingots nearby. and set off the explosion. No! Alright, so close. I got some. Forgot about my magnet. Whoops. Oh well, that's alright. I got enough iron ingots. Probably going to need a little bit more, but that's okay. We'll snag another one and just go do this real quick. This time with the magnet off. Dire derping already. We're hardly into the episode already. So let's try that again. You go here, and you know what? While I'm at it, let's just snag another stack. Iron, there you are. This will just have a good amount of iron to start with. Now, there's a better way, obviously, to make this. If you guys haven't played with Pneumatic too much, you will see it shortly. So this gets us, as you can tell, compressed iron. Hooray! Compressed iron ingots are used for pretty much everything in Pneumatic. Now, if you've seen me go through Pneumatic before, you're familiar with the whole seeds mechanic to get plastics. That's no longer the case. Now, I recently quickly went through a lot of the stuff in my Forgecraft 2 series. So this time around, I'm going to be doing things a little differently, obviously, and try and make a nicer Pneumatic setup and room. But let's go first with a basic air compressor. So this is one of the first things we're going to want to get is an air compressor. Cool. To make this, you need compressed iron, a pressure tube, which I'm going to get a couple of probably. Let's do that many for now. Well, you know what? Maybe one more set. Can't hurt to have a little extra. And then, let's see if we can do that. Cool. I just need a furnace. I'm going to make a couple of these. Sweet. Okay. So obviously I do have a bunch of pressure seeds that I can use to make stuff. So it's definitely doable for me to, wow, I have a lot of these seeds. Where did I get them all? I don't even know. But I could use them. So Pneumatic recently changed the way its plastic mechanic works, and we're going to be using the new method because I like it a lot more than the seeds method. But I just wanted you guys to be aware that it changed. So the seeds still work. You can still do it. So if we were looking Pneumatic plastics, right, you'll notice that you can use the new method or you can use the old method. Both are still available. So pretty cool stuff. But to get started, what are we going to want to do? Well, we'll probably want to set up an air compressor, and we're probably going to want to set up a pressure chamber real quick. So let's see what's involved in a pressure chamber. We're going to need pressure chamber walls, pressure chamber windows, pressure chamber valves, and eventually we're going to want a pressure chamber interface. But in order to do that, we're going to need some plastics. Cool. So let's get a pressure chamber basic setup. So I'll probably start with a pressure chamber. So let's do that. And I might even see if I can do the plastics the old way, just because it'll be quicker than setting up the whole plastic production line just to get the pressure chamber valves working. But, we'll see. So we'll want probably a couple of these. And we'll probably want some pressure chamber windows. One set should do for now, and we'll see if we need more later. And then obviously we'll want a pressure chamber valve. Sweet. So let's go down here and just set up a nice, cool looking pressure chamber. Where do I want this? Do I want this in the wall, or do I want it out in the middle of the room like I usually have it? See, I think in the wall might be cooler down the road. Right now, in the middle of the room is probably easier to manage. Let's go with in the wall. I think that sounds cool. So let's break through this wall that I just built. Good plan? Sure, why not? Now the question is, do I want to do a 3x3 or do I want to do a slightly larger one? I think a 3x3 pressure chamber. These can be, they're multi-blocks, so they can really be kind of almost any size that you want. But I think a 3x3 will be a good basic one. And if I ever need something bigger, I can obviously handle that. Come here, you. And that there. And I will put the pressure chamber valve. This is where the pressure chamber is going to hook up to the air pressure, aka the pressure tubes. And we'll have some glass here, and we'll probably want, that's going to be where an interface is going to be. And we'll probably have an interface maybe on one or either side. But we'll see. For now, we'll have to put glass there, and we'll put a wall in the top, and we'll put glass here, and then boom, we should have a fancy, nicely built pressure chamber. Cool, look at that, awesome. Now for the air compressors. I'll probably start with just having one here, and we'll probably expand this significantly later and have a much more complex pressure-based system, but for now this will work as just a basic getting started point. So the whole concept of pneumatic craft is air pressure to do everything, right? So we create air pressure in a pressure chamber, and we use these pressure tubes to keep everything pressurized. So when you generate air pressure in an air compressor, it's going to create air pressure and it's going to sync up with the pressure chamber, and everything in the network will always be at the same pressure until we get some more advanced stuff going on. So for now, let's do this. We're going to snag some coal, probably out of our network, and get this thing cooking. And that'll start building up pressure. And we'll notice that the pressure chamber also starts building up pressure, which is cool. Like I said, I probably want to get those things. So let's see what kind of pneumatic craft seeds I have. I think they are rain seeds that I need, right? So I can convert these into this plastic, which is used to make the pneumatic cylinder. So if I just got a bunch of rain seeds, and I'll hang on to a couple just in case, but half a stack should do. Now, before you have access to what we need, you're going to have to break it. And you'll notice that as soon as I break it, all the air pressure starts dropping in the system. So that's bad. But we want to drop our items in there and close it up, and they'll just kind of hang out. Now, it might take a while for our pressure chamber to build up to 1/2 bar of pressure in order to compress that. So let's get a quick upgrade up here, which is called the item life upgrade. This is an important one for your pressure chamber. Nice and easy to make, luckily. I should probably do that with gold instead of the other one. And what this does is makes it so that any items inside the pressure chamber won't despawn after the 5-minute mark that Minecraft typically causes items to be despawn at. So luckily we had a bunch of these rain seeds. I don't even know where I got them, to be honest with you, but they were there, and that was cool. So once this thing hits 1/2 bar of pressure, it should compress the seeds down into the plastics that we need. And then we can implement a system that means we won't have to break the pressure chamber every time we want to craft something. So this is kind of your first priority when it comes to pneumatic craft, is if you can get these seeds going. If not, you'll have to use the other method, which I'll show you in a bit, because we're definitely going to be taking a look at the new oil-based system. So you can see pressure popping those seeds into plastic. Awesome. And once they're all done, I'm going to go ahead and put my ring back on. Ta-da! And I'm probably just going to remove the coal here because we're going to need to break into this anyway. So in a moment, this will completely depressurize. That'll be fine. Let's go make the pressure chamber interfaces that we need. So it might not be a bad idea to look at some of the things we might typically want to make in here. So this guy, cannon barrel. I think the safety tube nozzle and pressure gauge are things that I'm going to probably make a lot. So let's do this. Let's do pressure gauge. We'll make one, and we will gold. Pull one out of there. That should be good. And we'll also want to do, put this in here. This guy. We'll encode that. And while we're at it, let's maybe encode this thing too. Cool. So now our system knows how to make a bunch of good stuff. So that if I were to ask for safety valves, I should be able to make, let's say, 4 of them. Nice and easy, right? And then I can use that to make my cannon barrels. Times 4. which can be used for a bunch of things, by the way, but pneumatic cylinder is definitely near the top of the list of things we'll want to make. 1, 2, 3, and then we will do that. Awesome. And then we should be able to make pressure chamber interfaces, which is good. And we'll hang on to these pneumatic cylinders for later, because I'm sure we will have a use for them at some point in the future. So now that we've got pressure chamber interfaces, this is where stuff gets really cool. So the direction that you place the pressure chamber interface is important. Hey. The I side is the input, and the O side is the output. So when you place these, you have to be careful about that. See? So what you're going to have is input items in here, and then they will output into the pressure chamber, and then they'll hang out in there. And then we will kind of do the same. Now that's already there. Cool. Man, that glass is so clear I can barely see it. Nice. Very cool. So now pressure can start to build up again. I'll throw a couple pieces of coal in here just to get a decent pressure going, but soon we will also automate this so that it doesn't have a problem. Now the other thing I'll probably want to do is get my AE system tied into this room. So why don't I go figure out how I can do that, and I'll come right back. All right, guys, we're back. And boy, that was not easy. I think after spending the last 25 minutes trying to figure out how I'm going to run a cable over to that room, I've decided that I absolutely need to do something about my mess of an AE system. And I really think that it just is like a total start from scratch job, AKA, I think we definitely need to do a void base. It's not even like a, I think this should happen. It's a, this needs to happen. Like there's no doubt. But anyway, we'll get to that. So for now, let's get back to playing with stuff that I think is pretty cool and fun to make. So we're going to be doing this. I'm going to run some cabling right along here, which shouldn't interact and connect with anything else because of all those cable anchors I just placed. We'll run this down here. My base is such a mess. This probably didn't have to be all smart cable. Could have just been a lot of regular cable. Because smart cable is kind of expensive, maybe I should swap that. I did snag regular cable, but I just got carried away. So we'll just do this, that'll be good enough. There we go. Where'd you go? Okay, yeah, no, that doesn't need to be there. We'll kind of put it like right here-ish. That's kind of the center of the room. So actually, yeah, that's not a bad spot. That's where we'll terminate our P2P connector, which may be done. Crafting. Yes, sweet. And then what we'll do is we'll have a nice P2P connection here. We'll sneak in this little window here and cable that dude, and then we just need to power this a little bit. So you know what I could do is have yank that off there and no, stop that, misbehaving. That should be cool. Try not to have a heart attack now, AE system. There we go. Recalculate yourself, figure out where you're at. Nice. And then I just need my memory card, which might be in here. So save that guy and load it up over here. And then I can get some dense cable. I'll put that in the A system for now. Cool. So I should be able to, this should work basically, and it should be cool. We have a decent number of channels available here. So let's, did I just hear an explosion or am I making that up? So this thing burned up all its fuel that I gave it. We're at about 1.5 bars, 1.6 if you want to check the exact pressure. That looks cool. So now I should be able to start doing things in here. Let me decide exactly how I want to transfer items into the pressure chamber. There's a bunch of different options we could do with. All right, I think I'll make this nice and easy. I'm going to put a chest here. Now, the way these pressure chamber interfaces work is the more items that go into them, the more pressure is required to transfer them into the pressure chamber. So you don't want to do a whole stack at a time. Otherwise, you'll run into something of a mess when that tries to transfer a whole stack in there if the pressure chamber doesn't have quite enough pressure. So for now, I think what I'll use is the impulse item ducts, because with the upgraded servos, we can specify how many are allowed to go in there at a time. So I'll do 16 for now. Cool. And we'll just let everything that goes in here go straight into the pressure chamber. So for example, let's test this with some iron, because iron is the easiest thing to demonstrate with, right? So I'm going to put 32 iron ingots in there, and this should convert it into 32 compressed iron ingots. Now we might need a little bit more coal. Let's see. What do these guys require pressure-wise? 2. So let's throw a couple of these in here. And what we should also do is look at some speed upgrades. What's involved in those speed upgrades? I know that they're usually a hassle, but I think I'm actually most of the way there. Do I have potions of swiftness auto-craftable? If not, I should be able to do it very easily, because we do have other potion types auto-craftable, and I built it so that I could auto-craft, later a little bit easier. So let's get this pressure built up. I wouldn't mind some speed upgrades before we test this. So let's do this. Over here, we've taught to keep water bottles, and we've said that glowstone dust, glistening melon, and netherwort yields a potion of healing ×3. So if I wanted a potion of swiftness, we would need sugar and netherwort. Okay, so that seems easy enough. Sugar. And I think the only thing we'll have to do is get in here with our Yeta wrench. And this one's the one hanging on to awkward potions, so we want to extract only potions of healing. That's fine. Let's do this. I'm going to do that. That'll brew up a bit of that stuff. Cool. And then I'll have the potions of swiftness ready to use in my filters and whatnot. So we will say that you insert potions of swiftness, and you are allowed to extract potions of swiftness. And that should clear out pretty quickly, and now we should have swiftness potions in our AE system. Nice. Now I just need to throw a filter or a recipe in, and we'll give it a good test. So we will put this on this mode. We will say 3 potions of swiftness for netherwort and sugar. Encode that, bring it downstairs with me, and hopefully this will work. Cool. So netherwort should have landed in here. We probably need to put sugar as the input on this thing. Yes. There we go. Sugar landed in there. That's cool. Water bottles are staying maintained. So these guys should transfer directly to here, at which point they'll be converted into swiftness potions, at which point they'll be thrown into the AE system, and we'll have auto-crafting swiftness potions, which is cool because we already know how to auto-craft cake, right? Yeah, we've been doing that for a while. Dun 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 dun. So now all I got to do is teach the AE system how to make speed upgrades. So luckily, the hardest part of auto-crafting that is the cake, and it's already done. So now, speed upgrades, where are you at? There, these are the upgrades. It's in here somewhere. Speed upgrade, cool. Switch this guy back to this to that, encode this, and that can go into just a regular auto-crafting thing. So now I should be able to request speed upgrades. I'm going to get 8 of them. So it's obviously going to have to craft a bunch of things, but it should complete. And if it does, then I'll know that everything that I set up is correct. And I'll be very happy about that. So over here, we can speed up the air compressor, but he's already up to 3 bars, so we're cool. While I did that, we took care of it. So let's throw these in. So it should snag 16 at a time. And we'll see them go into there. Nice. Now what's going to happen is it's going to automatically dump out the bottom, which is definitely not something we want. So we can put a filter on here, like so. Now, how do I want to do this? I'm probably going to eventually want an interface here, right? So let's do this. This should be nice and compact. We'll do interface. Craft one of those for me. Cool. That'll go right here. And then we can have this. I don't believe that these guys will auto output, but we'll find out in a second. I don't think they will though. Yeah, so we got to put a servo on that. And we will ignore redstone. Cool. So now the only thing that's allowed to land in the pressure chamber interface is compressed iron ingots. So why aren't you pressurizing? Oh, you see, we did lose pressure in there. So let's first check if our speed upgrades, if we've gotten any more of those ready. Sweet. So notice how much quicker the air compressor can burn through fuel with speed upgrades, which is nice. So you'll notice the iron ingots there should quickly turn into compressed iron ingots as soon as we hit 2 bar. And then they'll get sucked out through the interface there. Cool. See them popping? Nice. And remember, every time the door opens, it drains a little bit of the pressure, right? Because, you know, we're losing pressure when the door opens. That's just how pressure works. And then they get thrown into here, and that is cool. Nice. So we'll dual use the interface like we often do for A, a way to get items back into the system, and B, for the crafting process. So very simply, we just teach the A system how to make pressure. So we go into this mode with iron comes, and you know what I should do, just because it'll be easier? Let's do this. Just because I ran into this in Forgecraft, and it turned out to be easier for me to do it this way. So let's do this. Do we know how to make an iron block? I don't think I ever taught it that, right? So we'll do that real quick. And we'll snag one of them, and we'll say that 1 iron block equals 1 compressed iron block. If you guys did not catch the Forgecraft episode where I worked on that, I'll explain why that is in a minute. But basically, let's see, we'll teach this guy how to make iron blocks. Come down here. We're going to need to use compressed iron in some recipes later. So if we were pulling out compressed iron before it finished crafting inside the pressure chamber, that would be bad. So what I'm going to do now is, where's my compressed iron block? Tell it to only auto-craft compressed iron blocks. That way, will be cool. So let's hook this guy up to some cabling. And this thing should online itself. Nice. We can put this in here, and now we can request a compressed iron block. There we go. And then that should pressurize with a little bit more fuel. Awesome. And then when it does, it'll go back into the A system, and we'll have a complete crafting loop for our pressure chamber, which is pretty much what we're going to want. There we go. Very nice. And there it is, compressed iron block. Sweet. And then if we really want to, which we probably should, we should teach the A system how to convert back. So we just say normal crafting recipe. There you go, right? So the A system knows how to get regular stuff out of there. Sweet. I'm going to request more speed upgrades because it couldn't hurt. Speed upgrades are awesome for Pneumatic. They really speed up a lot of the process. So if we were to, for example, throw like a few more of these in here, 6 ought to do. Watch how quickly our charcoal burns down and how fast we get pressure out of that. Nice. All right, I think the next thing we need to do is make sure nothing explodes, because if the pressure gets too high, if it gets into the red, we have a large chance of explosions. So we need to cut off the air compressor whenever we get into the red line, which is a bad place to be. So let's come back in a minute and I will be ready to start working on that. All right, guys, so apparently I lied. I will not be ready to start working on this because I just discovered it's the old wrapping up point. So unfortunately, we do have to wrap up the episode here. So what I'll do is come back next episode. We're going to A, protect against explosions, and then B, probably jump into the oil processing stuff that comes with Pneumatic now. So we've got a bunch of oil. I did go check my oil reserves, and we have a ton available. So all I'm going to do is use the same oil that I'm pumping up from Buildcraft, and we'll build a pretty nice oil processing system inside this room, and it'll probably go along this wall. Along this wall will eventually be the assembly line that we build for Pneumatic, and I think what we'll wind up with in the end is a very efficient and nice Pneumatic system, which will allow us to make some really top tier stuff that while I eventually plan to use to make my void base. That's kind of the plan. If you guys have seen some older Forgecraft series, you might have a guess as to what I'm working towards, but those of you who don't or are newer to the channel, you're going to have to wait in suspense or read the comments because I'm sure somebody will spoil it. But yes, I have some cool plans. I worked on something that I thought was really cool back in Forgecraft, and it was kind of like the tail end of a Forgecraft series, so I'm thinking many of you may not have even seen it. But I'm really excited to show you if you haven't seen it, and I'm planning to upgrade it if you have seen it. So yeah, good and cool stuff coming soon. We just need to work our way through the progression of Pneumatic, right? So we'll be back next episode to automate a bunch of stuff in Pneumatic, and then we will be ready to start making cool things, possibly start working towards a void base, and all kinds of other good stuff. For now, Direwolf20 is signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next time to have more fun. All right, guys, take it easy.